Adapted from archaic translation by H.T. Francis and R.A. Neil. Jataka number 339. Bāveru Jataka. Before the crested peacock, etc. This story was told by the master when at Jetavana monastery, of certain wrong believers who lost their former gains and glory. For the wrong believers who before the birth of Buddha received gain and honor, lost the same at his birth, becoming like fireflies at sunrise. Their fate was discussed in the Hall of Truth. When the master came and inquired what was the topic the brethren were discussing in their assembly. On being told what it was, he said, "Brethren, not now only, but formerly too, before the appearance of those blessed with virtue, such as were without virtue attained to the highest gain and glory, but when those who were blessed with virtue appeared, such as were devoid of it lost their gain and glory." And with this he told a legend of past days. Once upon a time when Brahmadatta was reigning in Benares, the Bodhisattva came to life as a young peacock. And when he was fully grown, he was exceedingly beautiful and lived in a forest. At that time some merchants came to the kingdom of Bāveru, bringing on board ship with them a foreign crow. At this time, it is said, there were no birds in Bāveru. The natives who from time to time came and saw this bird perched on the top of the mast, said, "See the color of this bird's skin. Look at its beaked mouth at the end of its throat, and its eyes like jewel balls." Thus singing the praises of this crow they said to these merchants, "Sirs, give us this bird. We have need of it, and you can get another in your own country." "Then take it," they said, "at a price." "Give it us for a single piece of money," they said. "We will not sell it for that," said the merchants. Gradually increasing their offer, the people said, "Give it us for 100 pieces of money." "It is very useful," they replied, "to us, but let there be friendship between us and you." And they sold it for 100 pieces. The natives took it and put it in a golden cage and fed it with various kinds of fish and meat and wild fruits. In a place where no other birds existed, a crow gifted with 10 evil qualities attained the highest gain and glory. The next time these merchants came to the kingdom of Bāveru, they brought a royal peacock which they had trained to scream at the snapping of the fingers and to dance at the clapping of the hands. When a crowd had gathered together, the bird stood in the forepart of the vessel, and flapping its wings uttered a sweet sound and danced. The people that saw it were highly delighted and said, "This king of birds is very beautiful and well trained. Give it to us." The merchants said, "We first brought a crow. You took that. Now we have brought this royal peacock and you beg for this too. It will be impossible to come and even mention the name of any bird in your country. Be content, sirs," they said, "give this bird to us and get another in your own land." And raising the price offered, they at last bought it for 1,000 pieces. Then they put it in a cage ornamented with the 7 jewels and fed it on fish, flesh, and wild fruits, as well as with honey, fried corn, sugar water and the like. Thus did the royal peacock receive the highest gain and glory. From the day of his coming, the gain and honor paid to the crow fell off. And no one wanted even to look at it. The crow, no longer getting food either hard or soft, with a cry of caw, caw, went and settled on a dunghill. The master, making the relation between the two stories, in his perfect wisdom repeated these stanzas. Before the crested peacock had appeared, crows were with gifts of fruit and meat revered. The sweet-voiced peacock to Bāveru came, the crow at once was stripped of gifts and fame. So man to many priests due honor paid, till Buddha the full light of truth displayed. But when the sweet-voiced Buddha preached the righteous path, from wrong believers their gifts and praise all men withdrew. After uttering these 4 stanzas, he thus identified the birth. At that time the Jain Nigantha Nataputta was the crow, and I myself was the royal peacock. Source: adapted from archaic translation by H.T. Francis and R.A. Neil. Jataka number 340. Visayha Jataka. Of old, Visayha, etc. This story was told by the master while at Jetavana monastery of Anathapindika. The incident that gave rise to the story has been already told in full in the Khuddaka birth. On this occasion the master addressing Anathapindika said, "Wise men of old, my lay disciple, gave alms, rejecting the advice of Saka, king of heaven, when he stood in midair and tried to prevent them, saying, 'Give not alms.'" And at his request the master told a story of the past. Once upon a time when Brahmadatta was reigning in Benares, the Bodhisattva became a great merchant, named Visayha, worth 80 crores. And being gifted with the 5 virtues, he was liberal and fond of almsgiving. He had alms halls built at the 4 city gates, in the heart of the city, and at the door of his own house. At these 6 points he set on foot almsgiving, and every day 600,000 men went on to beg, and the food of the Bodhisattva and that of the beggars was exactly the same. And as he thus stirred up the people of all India by his gifts, the dwelling of Saka was shaken by the extraordinary effect of his charity, and the yellow marble throne of the King of Heaven showed signs of heat. Saka exclaimed, "Who, I wonder, would make me fall from my seat in heaven?" And looking about him he saw the great merchant and thought to himself, "This Visayha gives alms and by scattering his gifts everywhere is stirring up all India. By means of his almsgiving, I think, he will dethrone me and himself become Saka. I will destroy his wealth and make him a poor man, and so bring it about that he shall no longer give alms." So Saka caused his oil, honey, molasses, and the like, even all his treasure of grain to vanish, as well as his slaves and work people. Those who were deprived of his gifts came and said, "My lord, the alms hall has disappeared. We do not find anything in the various places set up by you. Take money hence," he said. "Do not cut off the giving of alms." And calling his wife, he asked her to keep up her charity. She searched the whole house, and not finding a single piece of money, she said, "My lord, except the clothes we wear, I see nothing. The whole house is empty." Opening the 7 jewel treasuries they found nothing, and except the merchant and his wife no one else was seen, neither slaves nor hired persons. The Bodhisattva again addressing his wife said, "My dear, we cannot possibly cut off our charities. Search the whole house till you find something." At that moment a certain grass mower threw down his sickle and pole and the rope for binding the grass in the doorway, and ran away. The merchant's wife found them and said, "My lord, this is all I see," and brought and gave them to him. Said the Bodhisattva, "My dear, all these years I have never mown grass before, but today I will mow grass and take and sell it, and by this means provide the fitting alms." So through fear of having to cut off his charities, he took the sickle and the pole and the rope, and going on from the city came to a place of much grass, and mowing it tied it up in 2 bundles, saying, "One shall belong to us, and with the other I will give alms." And hanging the grass on the pole he took it and went and sold it at the city gate, and receiving 2 small coins he gave half the money to the beggars. Now there were many beggars, and as they repeatedly cried out, "Give to us also," he gave the other half of the money also, and passed the day with his wife fasting. In this way 6 days passed. And on the 7th day, while he was gathering the grass, as he was naturally delicate and had been fasting for 7 days, no sooner did the heat of the sun strike upon his forehead, than his eyes began to swim in his head, and he became unconscious and fell down, scattering the grass. Saka was moving about, observing what Visayha did. And at that instant the god came, and standing in the air uttered the first stanza. "Of old, Visayha, you did give alms, and to almsgiving loss of wealth do owe. From now on show self-restraint, refuse to give, and you midst lasting joys for sure shall live." The Bodhisattva on hearing his words asked, "Who are you?" "I am Saka," he said. The Bodhisattva replied, "Saka himself by giving alms and taking upon him the moral duties, and keeping fast days and fulfilling the 7 vows attained the office of Saka. But now you forbiddest the almsgiving that brought about your own greatness. Truly you are guilty of an unworthy deed." And so saying, he repeated 3 stanzas. "It is not right, men say, that deed of shame should stain the honor of a noble name. O you that do 1,000 eyes possess, guard us from this, even in our painful distress." Let not our wealth in faithless wise be spent on our own pleasure or in increase of wealth, but as of old our stores with increase bless. By that same road a former chariot went, a second may well go. So will we give as long as we have means to live, nor at the worst stop each generous thought. Saka, being unable to stop him from his purpose, asked him why he gave alms. Desiring, he said, neither Sakahood nor Brahmaship, but seeking infinite knowledge do I give. Saka, in token of his delight on hearing these words, patted him on the back with his hands. At the very instant the Bodhisattva enjoyed this favor, his whole frame was filled with joy. By the supernatural power of Saka all manner of prosperity was restored to him. Great merchant, said Saka, from now on do you every day give alms, distributing 1,200,000 portions. And creating countless wealth in his house, Saka took leave of him and returned straight to his own place of dwelling. The master, having ended his lesson, thus identified the birth. At that time the mother of Rahul was the merchant's wife, and I myself was Visayha. Source. Adapted from Archaic translation by H.T. Francis and R.A. Neil. Jataka number 341. Kaṇḍari-Jātaka. The story of this birth will be set on in full in the Kunala birth. Source. Adapted from Archaic translation by H.T. Francis and R.A. Neil. Jataka number 342. Vānara Jataka. Have I from water, etc. This story was told by the master, when living in the bamboo grove, concerning the going about of Devdutta to kill the Buddha. The incident that led to the story has been already given in detail. Once upon a time when Brahmadatta reigned in Benares, the Bodhisattva came to life as a young monkey in the Himalaya region. And when fully grown he lived on the banks of the Ganges. Now a certain female crocodile in the Ganges conceived a longing for the flesh of the Bodhisattva's heart, and told it to her husband. He thought, I will kill the Bodhisattva by plunging him in the water and will take his heart's flesh and give it to my wife. So he said to the Bodhisattva, come, my friend, we will go and eat wild fruits on a certain island. How shall I get there? He said. I will put you on my back and bring you there, answered the crocodile. Innocent of the crocodile's purpose he jumped on his back and sat there. The crocodile after swimming a little way began to dive. Then the monkey said, why, sir, do you plunge me into the water? I am going to kill you, said the crocodile, and give your heart's flesh to my wife. Foolish fellow, said he, do you suppose my heart is inside me? Then where have you put it? Do you not see it hanging there on the fig tree? I see it, said the crocodile. But will you give it me? Yes, I will, said the monkey. Then the crocodile, so foolish was he, took him and swam to the foot of the fig tree on the river bank. The Bodhisattva, springing from the crocodile's back, perched on the fig tree and repeated these stanzas. Have I from water, fish, to dry land passed only to fall into your power at last? Of bread, fruit and rose apples I am sick, and rather figs than the mangoes pick. He that to great occasion fails to rise under enemyman's feet in sorrow fallen lies. One prompt a crisis in his fate to no needs never dread oppression from his enemy. Thus did the Bodhisattva in these 4 stanzas tell how to succeed in worldly affairs, and then disappeared in the grove of trees. The master, having brought his lesson to an end, identified the birth. At that time Devdutta was the crocodile, and I myself was the monkey.